In this video, we will talk about the different modes of inheritance, including autosomal dominant, X-linked recessive, X-linked dominant, Y-linked, cytoplasmic inheritance, also known as mitochondrial inheritance, and autosomal recessive. Stephen has Marfan syndrome. Marfan syndrome is an autosomal dominant disorder characterized by long limbs, such as fingers, toes, arms, and legs. Additionally, people with Marfan syndrome may have displaced eye lenses or heart valve problems. Because it is a dominant trait, one of his parents must have it. This is why dominant traits do not skip generations. In his pedigree, we can see that his mother has had kids with two different men. She did not know which father was Stephen's father, but we do because her first husband had the trait, so he must be the father. Stephen married someone without the syndrome and had kids who are also unaffected. This indicates that he was heterozygous for the disorder because his wife has to be homozygous recessive to be unaffected, and so do his kids. This is John. John has red-green color blindness. His father does not carry the gene for this, which is indicated by him not expressing the trait. For X-linked traits, males either have the trait or not. They cannot be carriers since they only have one X chromosome. Because red-green color blindness is recessive, his father is dominant for having normal vision. This means that he only passes down the genetic material on his Y chromosome to his sons, while passing down the genes on his X chromosome to all of his daughters. All of his daughters are unaffected because he passed down the dominant gene to them. However, John's mother does carry the gene. Unfortunately for John, his mother passed down this trait to him since it was on one of her X chromosomes. Luckily for John's sisters, they all got their father's dominant gene. Whether they are carriers or not is unknown. John's wife is a carrier but does not have the trait, so she passed down her dominant trait to their sons while passing the recessive gene to their daughter. In this pedigree, we can see that recessive traits can typically skip generations. Andrea is affected by X-linked hypophosphatemia. X-linked hypophosphatemia is characterized by bone deformities due to insufficient levels of phosphate in the blood. Andrea marries a non-carrier and they have 4 kids together, 2 boys and 2 girls. Out of her 4 children, one of her boys and one of her girls inherited this syndrome. Because not all of her children inherited the disorder, we know she must be heterozygous. Since the gene is located on one of Andrea's X chromosomes, that means she has a 50% chance of passing on that specific X chromosome. She indeed did, causing one of her sons and one of her daughters to be affected with X-linked hypophosphatemia. Billy is affected with Y chromosome infertility. However, he has mild oligospermia, which means that he still produces sperm, but it is much less than the normal male. Due to his oligospermia, it was very difficult for him to conceive children, and he had to resort to assisted reproductive technologies to help him conceive with his wife Alexis. Billy and Alexis had 5 kids, 3 of which are males who were all also affected with oligospermia. This is due to the condition being a Y-linked disorder, meaning every male Billy conceived would have been affected with the disorder since he passes his Y chromosome to all of his sons. Billy's sons will also have to seek further reproductive assistance if they want to conceive. Deborah carries some mutated mtDNA. Unbeknownst to her, these mutations can cause Leber hereditary optic neuropathy. However, she does not express any symptoms of this. When she got pregnant, she unknowingly passed this genetic material to her kid. Only Deborah, and not her husband, can pass this genetic material down because only the egg donates mitochondria to the fetus, not the sperm. Though only the mother can pass it down, both males and females can inherit any associated disorders or traits. This transmission of the mitochondrial genes caused some of her children to inherit Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, a degenerative optic disorder causing vision loss in young adulthood. Out of Deborah's 6 children, 2 inherited the disorder due to it being cytoplasmic inheritance. Cystic fibrosis is an autosomal recessive disorder. This means a person must have 2 copies of the recessive allele in order to have cystic fibrosis. In this pedigree, you can see that the mother, Susan, has the disorder, indicated by h. Out of her 5 kids, luckily no one got the disorder. However, because their mother was homozygous recessive, they all have to be carriers for it. Susan's oldest daughter married someone who is homozygous recessive, and their son ended up with the disorder. The rest of Susan's kids married people who were homozygous dominant for being healthy. All of these people passed down their dominant alleles, so none of the kids ended up with the disease. If Susan's kids marry someone who is a carrier, then their kids have a 25% chance of getting the disorder and a 50% chance of being a carrier. And this has been a presentation on the various modes of inheritance one may encounter when learning genetics.